Just now, just now 10 a.m. So let's get started. Quick roll call. Jim Cooper, City of Olympia.
Here. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Carolina Mejia,
Morning.
Board of County Commissioners. Carolina here. So either Joan Kathy, City of Tumwater. Ed Kunkel, City of Lacey.
Present.
Elaine Clams, City of Tenino.
Here.
Morning, Elaine.
Good morning.
Steve Purcell, Town of Bucota. Greg Schoenbachler, District 1 and our Ag Rep.
Well, Greg was here a minute ago, but he dropped
he?
off.
Steve is here too. He's
Oh,
showing up there.
Steve is,
I'm not
okay.
sure if he's like in front of his camera right
Got it, okay. Richard Moon, I saw Richard.
Yep, here.
All right. Delroy Cox?
I'm here. I'm getting a breaking message. I can't hear everybody all the time. I don't know whether it's on my end or
There's
somewhere.
been an audio problem. I've noticed the same thing.
Oh, that's good to know, thank you. Our industry recycling guy, Chad, are you here? David Nightingale, business.
I am here.
Good morning, David.
Thank you.
And Laura Busby from Ecology, the Department of Ecology.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Laura. And Jeff, do you want to walk us through staff?
Certainly. Well, we'll start in your room there. It looks like we have Karen Weiss is there. And Amanda Romero. And I think we have Angela Celestine in there as well. So that's in that particular room. Elsewhere,
We also have,
I'm off camera. This is Jennifer
Jennifer,
Walker,
yeah.
Public Works Director.
we have a full room here.
I also noticed that Commissioner Mejia just showed up. Then we have Chris Hawkins.
Good morning.
I might also mention that Joan
Good to
Kathy
see you folks.
has also now shown up.
Great.
Let's see, going down here, Melissa Smith. And I think am I missed anybody on staff? I don't think that's all I have.
Dean Bennett.
Oh,
Hi,
I was reading down the list. Oh, there you are on the list. Okay. A lot of names to pick through. I think that's it for Thurston County staff.
How about guests? Do we have any guests with us?
We'll start down with Nick Harbert.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Nick Harbert with Waste Management.
Aaron Robertson.
And Pacific Disposal.
Welcome.
Let's see. Ron Jones.
Ron Jones, City of Olympia staff.
And I think Greg is back on the call as well, so point that out. I think that's it. Have I missed anybody?
I think we also have John Cox. It looks like he's on listening mode, but
Okay.
he's welcome.
Okay, you guys is not showing up on my list. Okay.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. Have you all had a chance to take a look at the agenda for today's meeting? Objections to adopting the agenda for today's meeting? Hearing none, the agenda is adopted. I had a chance to take a look at the minutes from our last meeting of October 5.
I'll move the minutes be approved as written.
I'll second.
Second, we have a second from Mr. Cooper. Is there any conversation about the minutes from October 5th? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. And the minutes from October 5th are approved. Do we have any public comments this morning?
I don't see anyone from the public on our list of participants.
Hey then, without objection, we will move forward to old business, which I also don't think we have any old business. Yep, that we've discussed previously, that's not on our agenda. If not, we will move forward to new business. And there we're going to hear from Karen about our budget. Thanks.
Yeah, fantastic. It's nice to see many faces. Thank you, everyone. I'm Karen Weiss. I'm the Public Works Assistant Director. And I know many of you, some of you are new to me, but many of you I know because I served as interim solid waste manager a couple of different times. So I think you're familiar with me as well. Today, I'm going to give what is now becoming an annual presentation on our budget. And I am going to take a moment. I know Amanda's getting the slideshow presentation up and going. Melissa Smith, who Jeff mentioned as a staff member, I just wanted to introduce her. Maybe later on we can actually have her show her face if she can, but she has come on board as our new solid waste financial accountant. And so I've asked her to join today to get a little feel for the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and likely in the future she would be making these presentations to you or in a coordination with other members of our group. So anyway, welcome to Melissa. She comes with a huge background in property management and brings some solid accounting skills. And I can tell you she's been with us, gosh, I don't know, maybe a couple months now, and she is fantastic. She gets lots of stuff done. So I think you're all lucky to have her supporting your division. Okay. Amanda, if you go ahead, next slide. So I would ask if you have questions, go ahead and ask them as we go through the presentation. I don't mind that at all. Amanda can help me manage through that a little bit because I will be slides, but this is an overview of the solid waste budget. This, I'll start by pointing out, includes all of our different funds. So we have 3 different funds. We have a maintenance and operations fund. We have a fund that's dedicated to post-closure reserve expenses for our closed landfill. And then we have a capital fund that funds our capital projects. So this is a combination of all of those together. I've provided 4 years because I think it's nice to look at a little bit of history between what's happened the last couple of years and then where we are for our current and next year budget. And so you can see in 2020 and 2021, our revenue and our expenses in those cases were fairly equal. We added to our ending fund balance in both 20 and 21. And so as you move through the years, you see in 2022 and 2023, we look like, oh my goodness, we have a lot more expenses than revenue. We'll be able to talk a little bit about the reasons why as we go through the slideshow, but I will tell you the vast majority, the significant thing in those 2 years is that we are heavy into our capital projects activity mode. We are, as you know, I know you're getting periodic updates on those. We have a flare system that we've upgraded. We have a SCADA system that we've upgraded. We are working on the pumps. We're having discussions about what our South County facilities may look like. We've been talking about waste recovery center reconfiguration. So you're starting to see some of those heavy expenditures a little bit in 21, but moving really heavy into 22 and 23 and going forward. And so what's happening in those instances is obviously we're spending more than our revenue. The good news is we planned for this. We had put away money for these future infrastructure investments. And so we have a nice healthy ending fund balance, and that is gradually decreasing or spending that ending fund balance. So nothing in my mind to be alarmed. It's exactly how we anticipated that it would happen. So
capital facilities that we're upgrading, how often does that happen? And will we start the process now of saving again?
That's a great question, and the answer is, I actually don't know how frequent upgrading those. I would rely on our capital projects experts to do that, maybe I could throw out a WAG, which would be but absolutely, we would want to start savings, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the final slide, so good question, Renee. So, okay, this is just a snap, oh, yes, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, this is Delroy. In the past, the budget was broken out into the operations, the capital budget, and the post-closure. If it's all wrapped into one fund, how is that money allocated? Because the post-closure fund is supposed to be a dedicated fund. And then with the capital budget, with all the capital improvements that we're looking at, that was my question. Are they dealt with separately? Or is everything wrapped into one and pulled out of it, out of like a general fund?
I wasn't very articulate in that first slide. So this is just for purposes of the slide presentation that I've shown them at a high level. We do indeed have 3 different funds that we manage for the solid waste division. We have our maintenance and operations fund. We do have a separate fund that is set aside for post-closure reserve expenses. And so everything associated with the post-closure is paid out of that fund. And then we have a third fund that is for our capital projects. So we transfer money in on a regular basis to fund those future capital projects or those current capital projects. And so then all of those expenditures associated with that capital program come out of that capital fund. So for purposes of the presentation, I combined them at a high level so you could just see the revenue and expense, but you'll see as we go through, they are still tracked as separate funds.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is a snapshot of our revenue. Again, we have about a $30 million revenue, just shy of that. We're approaching 30 million. Who knows, maybe in 2022 will be the year that we go over that threshold. So lots going on, right? Garbage is big business in Thurston County. And so as you can see, the little table down at the bottom just shows you where our funding comes from. And so as you can see, the vast majority, right around 91% of our revenue is derived from tipping fees from dumping garbage. They're followed quite a ways back down. Then next item is yard waste. And that's just under 5% of our income. And then you can see down from there, we have the drop boxes. We have some money from Hazo House for those commercial small quantity generator businesses that bring items to the Hazo House, and then other. And that other encompasses grants. So our LaSWIFA funding in 2022 and 23, that includes for our waste characterization study, for example, and funds some of our Hazo House operations. And then we have other small amounts that come in from, say, battery recycling as an example. It's continuing to go up. And of course it's going up. Why? Because of course our quantities of waste that is disposed are going up.
Delroy's hand is up. Delroy, do you have a question? And is not. Delroy.
Okay, next slide. This is a slide consistent with the last few years that I've shown it to you. This is just down in the tipping fees or revenue that we bring in across our scales for between commercial and self-haul. And it's really been consistently about a 2/3 commercial, 1/3 split. So that's where we are currently. That's where we've been the last couple of days or last few years when we've done this analysis. So that seems to be a distribution between the commercial and self-haul. So 2/3 from commercial.
Hey, this is Greg. Sorry to interrupt here. What defines as a commercial? Is that just anybody, like any old contractor? Or is that the waste hauler, or is it all the other?
Waste haulers.
Waste hauler only?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
expenditure slide. And so this is providing a snapshot of our expenditures by program area or project. So as you go through, we've, we just have some categories that I've assigned to some of our activities. Again, this is for expenditures. And so again, seeing that four-year snapshot, you can definitely see the majority of our expenses are for contracted operations. Not a surprise. That's what, that's currently our LeMay and our Republic contracts. That will continue in the future to be the Republic contract as we go forward, beginning in the county operations. That would be for our Hazo House site that we operate, and also for the scale houses and staff that we provide down at the Rainier and Rochester. The community programs, education and outreach, that also includes the funding that we provide to public health for their aspects of the solid waste program, so that compliance, enforcement, and the education aspects associated with their activities. The post-closure reserve expenses there, Delroy, you can see those are those expenses that take place in that post-closure reserve fund that's set aside for the support of that. And then what you can see down there is what I alluded to in that very first slide of expenditures, capital projects. So you can see in 2020, we had about $600,000 in capital project expenses, a little bit more, $861,000 in 2021. And then you can see these budgets in 2022 and 2023 are quite large. And that's because those projects are ramping up or nearing completion, depending on the ones we talk about. I would say that does not mean some of that money may carry forward into a future budget year if the project ends up taking place. Let's say there's money in 2023 for a project that we end up, the timeline moves it to 2024, that would just move forward. But you can see we've gone from being a 2 or 3% amount of our total expenditures to comprising, between 20 and 25% there. Questions on that slide before we move on? This now takes that 2022 budget number that we just saw on the previous page and just breaks it out in a different way, looking at not programs, but the type of expenses. And again, all of these things paint the same picture. You can see that professional services is 59% of our budget. And that shouldn't be a surprise because we just talked about the fact that contracted services are the significant driver of our budget. Professional services, those contract services, those are synonymous in this instance. So also on this, you see payroll, for example, our payroll costs are about 10% of our budget. I can tell you in public works, that's pretty different. If you look at a lot of our other programs, those payroll costs are quite a bit more. I assume lots of you in business probably the same thing. You can see we have right now that construction of capital assets as broken down by the and then again, those interfund professional services, that, as I talked about in the last slide, that's the support that we provide or the funding that we provide to public health for the activities that they perform on behalf of public waste or solid waste. I see somebody's hand.
So I think you're inviting my question, which is if we have any data that tracks expenditures on a per capita basis within the county. And I'm still getting a lot of breakup on your microphone, so I miss chunks. I'm not sure if other people are having this problem, but it's been kind of breaking in and out periodically.
Audio issues this morning?
That was, I'm sorry. Room audio is choppy, yeah, right.
Regard to the per capita question, are we?
I
checking-
do, we have not. That's an interesting question. In terms of solving the audio, all I can suggest, I could go to my computer and join on Zoom and do this, see if that helps, if people are having difficulty hearing.
I think it just might be the speakerphone switching back and forth from listening to transmitting may be causing the problem.
We haven't had this problem in this room before.
Slow down.
I would suggest you turn off your camera in the room and see if that helps.
Okay,
Turn off this camera, will it turn off the shared slides?
No, we still have them.
okay, let's give it a try.
That
All right.
can't come soon enough.
Well, thank
That didn't help, just so you know.
Shall I zoom in? If you want me to take if we don't mind taking a 2 or 3 minute break, I can go join by Zoom.
Let's give it a try.
Okay, all right.
We have a 3-minute break if somebody wants to take a campaign phone call.
Okay, Amanda, can you hear me? I am here.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'll try this again from my office. We'll see if this helps. If there are any areas of the slides that I went through before that people feel like they missed or questions that they have, I'm happy to back up, or you can save them till the end. And if I did not address your question, please ask it and I'll try then. Okay, Amanda, I think we're ready for the next slide, please. Okay, this has taken those professional services that we have talked about in the last slide as being the most significant aspect of our budget, about 59–60% there. Now it's providing an overview of what those professional services are in terms of operational area. So again, building on that, what are they? Well, again, transfer station operations is the most significant driver of those professional services, and again, our overall budget, followed then by yard waste. And I'll take a moment here just to point out that our yard waste expenses are significantly higher or higher than the revenue that we derive from yard waste. That is something that we will definitely be looking at over time. It's a decision, the time to do some subsidy of that through our rates because we want to encourage that yard waste, but that will be something as we look at a rate study, which is likely to take place in 2023 after the new contract goes into expense. That'll be something that is evaluated. Then I would also, just as a note on this, if you look in the 2022 budget and you follow it down to general consulting, planning, and other line, you'll see that we have a $719,000 professional services expense this year, and that seems to be more than the trend along the way. And that is because we are conducting a waste characterization study in 2023. I'm sorry, 2022. That has been largely funded 75% through the LaSWIFA funds. And I'm sure you've been hearing about that waste characterization studies and some of those activities from Jeff and his team as those have gone along. So I will pause there and ask if there's any questions. I've provided the October year-to-date numbers. Actually, before I pause, I will say that I do actually anticipate that our professional services expenses and our budget will exceed what we currently saw as our approved budget. And we have submitted a budget amendment for the board's consideration that would be reviewed and approved before the end of the year. And that is because I expect our professional services contracts costs to exceed what we had originally budgeted. There are 3 reasons for that. The first is, as we've talked about, our tonnage continues to increase, and we've seen those. We see those in the monthly data points that Amanda Romero sends out. I would say that our CPI this year, as in so many other areas of our lives, the CPI and the impact that had, our consumer price index, the impact that had on our rates in 2022 for our contracts was higher than it had been in the past, and that's driven by obvious reasons. We know we've been up around an 8% inflation or CPI rate, so that had a direct impact on those contracted rates. And I would also say that will be, as we go forward with the new contract, keep in mind under the new contract that we set a min and a maximum inflation or escalation clause in there for a year. So that is something that this is a great year of why that is a helpful thing. And then the final thing is we will have additional revenue, of course, because of those increased tonnages and volumes that will offset some of that cost. So now I will pause and ask if there's any questions.
Yeah, hey, it's Greg. I was just curious on that contract. You mentioned the cap on annual escalate. What is that? Is it based off CPI or percentage, or just a flat percentage?
Okay, and there, Jennifer, help me out because I meant to look this up. It's a minimum of 2.5 and a maximum of 3.5. Or Jeff, do you guys remember? I forgot to look it up this morning.
It is definitely a maximum of 3. I think it's 2 and a quarter, I believe, low, but or 2.5. It's like I had to go back and look as well, but 3 is the top.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So sorry, Greg. I wish at one point I could have recited that to you in my sleep, and then I've put it aside for a little bit. But yeah, there is
no worries. That's great. Thanks.
A range. Yeah. Okay. Next slide then. Okay, we do a capital improvement program or plan every year at the county, and so each year we evaluate the projects and where they are. So this is our solid waste division's capital improvement program. And so these numbers, if you look down that final line that says totals, that $10,955,000 number in 2023 may sound familiar to you because you saw that earlier in the slides as being our capital projects budget for 2023. This shows you on a project by project basis what comprises that number and what we have planned or in the works going forward. So starting at the top, you can see the flare and the SCADA systems. The bulk of that work happened in 2022. Some of that, a little bit of that may carry over into 2023. We've had some supply chain issues. I mean, that's the mantra, I think, for most projects around here. So we've got some project closeout money for 2023. You've got the Radiator and Rochester drop boxes on there. There are some improvements that you've heard about going on there, some mini offices, some additional security lighting things. But I will say that if you go down below, we do have the transfer station facility second location on this list, about 3/4 of the way down, maybe 2/3. one or the other of those will be going forward, right? We'll either be going forward with some sort of renovation of those major renovation of those drop boxes, or we would be moving forward with a transfer station facility second location. So just wanted to point that out. While both are in, or all of those are in our capital facilities plan, they would not both be going forward. You see the pump system on there. You can just go through, oh, I guess in 2023, you see that we have a line item in there for an evaluation of whether or not to replace or purchase a new transfer station compactor. So we've got money in there for that evaluation. And then the ongoing work site reconfiguration project is on there as well. I would say that those estimates are subject to further refinement as those projects develop and we have better information as to what our needs and what those might look like. But that's a 6-year plan, and the farther you go out, the less information and detail there is on the project. So as is expected. So any questions there?
Questions for Karen at this point?
Okay, final slide. So this takes that plan that we just saw, and this is similar to our first slide that we saw that gives a forward look at what our what the solid waste division financials plan, what projecting in the future. So from 24 to 27, those are projections. They are based really on our current state. So we haven't really done an analysis when you look at those M&O expenses for the new contract at this point. So those are just plugging in some basic escalators for tonnage and CPI. It doesn't include the potential impact of what a new transfer station might look like on operations. All of those things could change this picture. And we talked a little bit about the fact that we'll be completing a rate study at some point. So in terms of those revenue numbers, they are based on current revenue amounts and, current revenue, current fee structure. That was the word that I was looking for and I couldn't seem to find. So all of those things could change as we go through and have more information. But what I wanted to show here is you see the revenue, and then you see our maintenance and operations expenses. So those are those ongoing operational items, right? So what you can see right now is pretty close in 22 and 23, our revenue and our expenses are aligned. We generally frequently have savings or under expenditure in the maintenance and operation expenses, especially where the post-closure reserve is, especially in terms of the post-closure reserve. And so many times those will equal or add to the fund balance. Then you can see those capital projects that we've highlighted or programmed in. We end up with our expenditures exceeding our net year-end activity. And so that's drawing down that fund balance. And you can see based on this projection, we go from about a $52 million beginning fund balance in 2022 down to a $14 million, according to this plan, over the next 6-year time period. And so this, Renee, loops back to what you were saying, which is as a part of that rate study and as we look forward to our future infrastructure needs, we would at some point, rather than drawing down that fund balance, want to be building that back up to address those long-term future infrastructure needs at some point in the future. So with that, I think that's the last slide. So any final questions?
Karen, about this budget plan.
I'm sorry, Renee, the first part cut out.
I was asking if there are any questions of you in regard to this budget plan. And because I can't see people's hands right now, you're gonna have to just speak up. Oh, there you are. Any questions for Karen? Okay, I think we covered it, Karen. Thank you.
I just for information, When are you going to look at the rate study to see if it's going to impact the rates?
So I certainly, Jeff, feel free to add on here, but I mean, we'll probably be looking at that in 2023-24. I think we felt like we needed to get the new contract in place and use that as a baseline or for the starting place for that rate study analysis. We felt like to do it during the implementation of the contract probably didn't give us the best information.
Okay, I just, the sooner that you can accomplish that, the easier it is to spread out the rest over a period of time. So.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Time is a friend in terms of setting aside for a rainy day. Yeah.
To that, Delroy, any other questions or comments for Karen in regard to the proposed budget plan?
Yeah, I think it looks fine. I just was a little bit confused with the professional services slide, which that title kind of threw me until I actually looked at what was on your line items. And I mean, professional services, I think about going out to get consulting services and not, capital. I mean, it seems like that's just a, operating and capital expenses slide. So anyway, maybe think about a different title next time so I'm not confused would be helpful.
Fair enough. We call them professional services at the county. So that's the lingo that's in my head. But yes, those are our contracts or consulting associated with capital projects or some of our activities.
Yeah.
But thank you for that.
Sure.
Hey, it's Greg again.
He's got his hand up, yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Greg.
I don't know if you can see that or not. So, but anyways, on your expense detail, that's a percent of the overall expenses, right? Not percent of revenue.
Correct.
Okay. Are you doing? Well, obviously you are doing percent of revenue, but is there, because there's so much capital spent in 2022, that's probably a pretty skewed figure, isn't it? Like percent of revenue on labor is much greater than 10%. When you break that down, do you have to have that handy? I'm just kind of
I
curious.
do not.
Okay.
I did not do that analysis. I certainly could do calculate the numbers, but I probably would take me a few minutes to do.
Yeah,
that.
no, I can do it too. I've got the sheet, so I'll look at it, but just want to comment on it.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yep.
Before we move on to the next agenda item. Not seeing any hands, but if you have a question, go ahead and speak up. Jeff, I think you're up to talk about next year's work plan.
Okay, well, if you recall, I guess we've been doing this typically in November to at least get a framework for our meetings for next year. And if you recall, last year, Amanda led this effort, and she's going to lead us or guide us through this again today. So take it away, Amanda.
Sure, yeah, and if you're having trouble hearing me, let me know. Jeff, if it gets too choppy, I may need your help.
You can turn your camera back on. I don't think that. Okay.
2023 work plan draft that you'll notice that quite a few of these items are probably familiar. So over the past few years, we've sort of developed a template or a structure of items that we'd like to revisit each year. For example, a legislative pre-session presentation, post-session presentation. A lot of these items you've seen from past years. So we filled those in, and then Jeff and Dean put together a few other items that will be about projects and ongoing projects. So hopefully you've all had a moment to preview this. I'm just hoping that y'all have some input or feedback on some things you'd like to see on an agenda in 2023. You'll notice that we have some months that don't have anything big going on or any agenda items at all. So we could put some presentations in there if there's something in mind you're thinking about. I just want to also reiterate or mention that this work plan is not set in stone. So don't feel like if you don't speak up today, or you do say, yes, I like it now, and maybe you want to change something later, this will change throughout the year as new projects arise or new items come up, we will switch things around. So this is just to give us a baseline as we go into 2023.
Does anyone have anything they'd really like to see us address in 2023 that is not on this draft work plan?
And I'll scroll it just a little bit, so I think we can fit. December is empty right now. That tends to be a month we don't do a whole lot because of the holidays, but I think right now I have January through November on the screen, so everyone should be able to see what we have so far.
Any questions of Amanda, Jeff, or Dean?
Just
Nothing that we hadn't anticipated, and things do change.
Right. For example, Karen brought up a rate study. I'm sure that would make it into an agenda at some point if we have that project going on.
And Richard has his hand up. Richard.
Yeah, okay, so I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but I'm just wondering if we should have at some point an overview of climate considerations and how they might affect planning going forward over the next 5 years as you're planning out with capital things, a discussion specifically on what areas might be sensitive to increasing climate issues, and sort of best case, worst case kind of thing. I don't know if that's appropriate here or not, but I'm wondering if we should just be planning business as usual going forward, or if we should include some kind of worsening climate assessment in our considerations.
Jeff, you were next with your hand up.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to go ahead and address that one, Richard. And actually, you'll notice in July, climate mitigation update, and it also, which again, we will want to be looking at, and that's something for this committee to consider and deliberate on, are what else, what other actions that we can do that are within the purview of the solid waste program to help mitigate climate concerns. So absolutely, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, and it's sort of reflected here. So good point.
Thanks, Jeff. Jim.
Yeah, thank you. And I agree with Richard, though I think what he's asking for is what's the climate adaptation plan, and that's not in the Thurston County Climate Mitigation Plan. That would be more of an internal county thought process. So we'd love to dig in on that a little bit if we can. I'm also curious about the global and local recycling markets at some point this coming year, just to get an update. We started talking a little bit about it last month, and or maybe when Steve Jewell was on, it was a couple months ago. And then last week at City Council, our mayor showed us this really cool waste to energy plant in Oslo or Copenhagen that she went to during the climate conference earlier this year. It was a really tall structure that had a year-round ski slope off the top of it, with fake snow being made out of the excess energy, and they're importing waste to make energy now. It's pretty fascinating, but not to look at a specific project like that, but it would be really great to be a little bit in touch with what the future of waste to energy is, and if there's any considerations in the work we're doing in Thurston County in that world, whether municipal or private.
That would be really fun, and I think we should do a field trip.
Yeah, that sounds great. But I know we have a lot of experts that are really digging in on that just right here in our county, and including, I think, our mayor's daughter works for a local organization that does a lot of work around energy and waste.
Yeah, that's a emerging industry right now, so it would be kind of fun to hear from them. And David,
Yeah, I would just, if we, or if staff know if there's a timing for the decision point between the upgrading the two Dropbox sites versus the new transfer station, that probably that should go in here somewhere. Maybe it's already here, but I don't see called out that way, or maybe you don't know what the timing is on that.
Sure, I'll jump in here. If you notice down at the very, it's actually, well, it's not on the screen right now, but if you have the handout, there's a note that the work master plan and the South County Transfer Station projects will be added to meeting agendas at decision points and as new information becomes available. And related to that is, if you recall at the last meeting, and this kind of jumps into my manager's update, is you passed a motion, recommending that we brief the board on, basically the results of the outreach, the stakeholder engagement outreach, with the recommendation to look at the next step, which would be performing a siting study. So yes, it's a multi-step process. So we're for the next step that as you propose would be a siting study. The step after that will depend on what the results of the siting study are. So there's multiple decision points on go, no go, but we're moving on to the next step potentially.
Great, thanks, Jeff.
Renee, may I add?
yes.
Following up on the question regarding climate mitigation, is that the county just recently a new climate mitigation senior program manager. And so there certainly is a nexus there with our solid waste program. And so maybe putting her on the agenda as well to talk about the county's efforts.
That'd be great. Yeah.
So we can look this, talk to her and see what her schedule is and when would be an opportunity for her. She's just getting on board, so when would be a good opportunity for her to come and talk to us? So we'll investigate that and get that placed onto the agenda one of these months.
I feel certain we will be her first priority.
Of course.
Clearly,
Yeah.
clearly.
Any other next year's work plan?
This is Delroy. I just have a comment. You said that you were going to address the transfer station project. It's under December, but as it comes available, with the importance of that and making that come together as soon as possible, that might just be something that we probably should at least get an update quite frequently through the year. Because I have a concern with, the farther this stuff goes out, this is with our capital improvements at work and what's going to happen if the rural transfer stations, that's going to impact the ability to handle the waste going through the system. If both of those come together, then I think that's going to solve a lot of the problem that we've seen in the past. I just wanted to stress the importance of following that and keeping it moving.
Jennifer wanted to address
Yes,
that?
thank you, Delroy. That's a really good point. I think the reason we absolutely will do that, we're also needing to go forward to the board to get the direction from them. And so we don't want to assume or presume that they are, moving. Yeah, just keep having that continue to be a regular report out. Absolutely, yeah.
Anything else? I'm not seeing any hands right now. In which case, I think we are good to move forward to our manager's
Oh.
update. Oh, one more
One
thing.
more thing, so I just wanted to recap, I can add the couple items that were brought forward and bring this back to our next meeting. In the past, we've made a motion to all agree, or the members of the committee agree on it, so you can expect that probably on the next agenda, and then we should be set up for 2023. Thank you.
Our next meeting is December 7th, is that right?
That is right. I think Jeff is probably going to talk about December meetings, since sometimes we cancel it, or in my 4 years here, we've always canceled it.
Yeah, it's not
No audio.
update.
Okay, yeah, I think I was with Richard here. I didn't hear anything of what was just said coming out of that room, but I will go ahead and move forward with that. So first off, before I jump into that, that does raise the question about the December 7th meeting. And at this point, the agenda would be very light. So the question as far as we don't have anything in particular yet for the agenda, is there a desire to go ahead and cancel or hold the meeting for December 7th? I wanted to put that out there first before I get into so back to you, to the group to consider.
Does anyone have strong feelings about holding the meeting on December 7th or canceling the meeting on December 7th? I must be back from Mexico, so all tanned, and I know you're gonna want to see that. So I'm thinking,
Canceling sounds great.
let's do it then.
Is that a consensus, council? I want to make sure that we have a consensus from the group.
I didn't get the, I didn't hear anything.
We
Okay,
don't really have anything for an agenda to talk about right now in December. Given our last discussion, we do have some things that we'll be adding to our work plan for 2023, but we can talk about those in January. And between now and January, we're going to get the sound issue.
yeah.
Sorry
yeah,
about
that'd be good. Yeah. Okay, well, I will then, okay, so am I correct in, do we have a consensus? Let me say, ask this. Is there anybody that is opposed to canceling the December 7th meeting? All right, hearing none, I'm assuming it is consensus. Okay. Other updates, the waste characterization study. Our next sampling event is actually starting next Monday. So it'll be next Monday through Thursday out at the Waste and Recovery Center. If you are interested in observing, feel free to come on out. That'd be helpful to let us know ahead of time, just so we can provide appropriate safety equipment. So if you are interested, let us know. We can have you stop by the office to get the appropriate safety equipment if you want to kind of just come and see what that looks like. So Wendy from HDR and her group, and Amanda will be there all week with performing that sampling. It's quite fascinating if you've never seen it. So anyway, that's coming up next week. The compost procurement ordinance draft that you all considered the last couple of months, and then again last month at the last meeting, you passed a motion to have staff take this draft ordinance to brief the Board of County Commissioners. We do have a briefing set up for the end of this month. We'll be presenting that to them, and just with the recommendation that you all put forth, that if they are in agreement, that we would take that to a public hearing, would be the next step after that, if the board has an interest in doing that. So that is in process. And likewise, the one that was just previously mentioned about the stakeholder engagement for the potential South County transfer station. There was a recommendation that go to a briefing with the Board of County Commissioners. That briefing is because of timing is actually not scheduled until I think the very first week of January because of the board's schedule and other individual schedule trying to get everybody together. So that will be coming at the beginning of the year and then hopefully moving forward from that on that one. We are currently recruiting for our education outreach 3 position, which is the supervisor position in our education and outreach group. This is the position that was held previously by April Lee, and you've all have seen April. She's given presentations on to this group. She left us in I think that early September or something like that for another position while working with the state. So we're actively in the recruiting process, going through the interviews right now, and we hope to have somebody on board by December, hopefully. And then we have a couple other openings within that education outreach group as well that we will then, once the new supervisor is in place, hopefully be also recruiting to fill those positions. And just a couple waste reduction recycling updates on some of the things that have been going on over the past month in that realm. So over the past month, our education and outreach folks distributed over 4,000 copies of our Trash Talk newsletter, which is a newsletter that's made specifically for 4th and 5th grade classrooms. They were distributed to 135 4th and 5th grade classrooms throughout the county. So it's a newsletter that goes out, I believe, twice a year to students in those age groups, and they're well received, and it's a good opportunity to hit a large number of children. Additionally, we have begun just about 2 weeks ago a weekly social media contest where we're celebrating in preparation of celebrating the upcoming America Recycles Day. If you're not familiar, America Recycles Day is held every year on November 15th. So we're running a total of 4 contests with themes that encourage residents to adopt waste reduction habits in their everyday lives. So I actually saw one of them in my personal Facebook feed. I saw one of those yesterday, actually. I was the strumming rolling through. So we're getting out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what do those contests look like? Is it a question? Is it and whoever answers first wins some trash? I don't know.
Actually, I since I didn't feel like I was able to participate, I did not follow the link because I can't win anything. But that's a question I would have to ask Rob Pudner on what the prize and the procedure.
I'm just curious what kind of questions are being asked and what the criteria is for winning and
right, and what they're pledging to do.
At the Friday 5 newsletter, I noticed it's been promoted in that.
okay.
But we can get back to you with more information, and I encourage you to go out and look for it if you're interested in.
I'll do that. Yeah, thanks.
I'll send the link out with the email, the next email.
Perfect. Thanks, Amanda.
And lastly, the Master Recycler Composter program is ongoing. They've already completed 9 of their classes, and it looks like we have about 30 people participating in this cycle. So, in addition to the classroom lectures that they do, the trainees have been participated in field trips so far. They were actually here out at the work this last weekend in Closed Loop Park, looking at a compost demonstration event. They've also had tours of the Waste and Recovery Center, Hazo House, and Pacific Disposals facility just down the road from us here out at the work as well. So they have 2 more classes left here in November, and our graduation for that group is scheduled for November 10th. So that'll give us yet another 30 or so individuals that will be indebted to us, so to speak. So part of the master recycler composter piece has been in exchange for the training and the education is they are then provide payback hours through volunteerism, promoting waste reduction, recycling, composting, any of those, but either at home, in the community, or in their business. So that's it's always exciting, and it seems like the class is going very well again this year. And we typically perform this every fall. And for me, that is my updates. And anybody have any questions on any of those items or something else I didn't talk about?
Any questions or thoughts for Jeff? Do not see any hands up there. All right. Do we have any just general comments, questions, announcements for the good of the group?
I guess maybe I'll just, since we've got time here. So actually a week from right now, 11 a.m. next Wednesday, I'll be giving a talk to the local SWANA chapter on household hazardous waste facility design, essentially what people get wrong. Pick 6 big things that people don't get right when they build those facilities. And, you know, I'd be happy to, if people aren't SWANA members or don't want to pay $25, I'd be happy to give that presentation to this group or anybody else who is interested. So, or if you want to work it in at some point, I'd be happy to do any sort of things because I'm volunteering here. So it's an offer.
I'd be interested, certainly.
I'm thinking that's a great service club presentation.
Yeah.
Did you say service club?
Yeah, I think they'd be interested in that.
Oh, okay. I don't know if this qualifies as a service club.
I'm thinking, you know, Rotary, Kiwanis, that sort of thing.
Yeah, this is more towards people that are thinking about upgrading or designing a facility. So it's kind of a planning, engineering kind of talk. I don't know. I mean, I'm very interested, but I don't know if anybody else.
Well, and I'm very interested too, so we might not be normal, David.
Yeah.
With
I
all
mean,
the design work we're going to do, it's a great baseline for us to get as we go into these projects, honestly.
I mean, it could be something we could do, you know, November 7th or December 7th, you know, if you wanted to just do that and not have a meeting, but have an informal thing, I could do that then. I mean, I've already done the presentation, so. Anyway, that
sounds great to me. I'd love it.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yes, I just had a question. And when they're looking at that, do they have consideration for large counties and small counties? You know, large counties have got the money to meet all the requirements and really have efficient and equitable facilities. The small counties really struggle with this, and I was wondering if they took them into consideration when they're looking at their facilities.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about Washington State, there's you won't find many counties under about 50,000 people that have a permanent facility. Just because of what you just said, Delroy, there's not the infrastructure and the resources available that size population. Once you get over about 50,000 plus, typically, especially with college grants and stuff, you can find the will to and the resources to sustain a facility. And then when you get over probably 100, 150,000, then the question is, do you need multiple facilities? And most of the, if you look at the top 5 counties, population-wise in Washington, they all have multiple facilities. I don't know, that's like Spokane, Clark, Pierce, King, Snohomish, I think are the top 5. They all have multiple facilities. So, you know, we're somewhere in between there. We're what, I think, are we getting, are we at 300,000 now? We're getting close to, pretty close anyway. So we're more in that upper echelon here. We're not really a small county compared to a lot of others in Washington.
Do we want to set aside our regular meeting time on December 7th? We wouldn't necessarily require a quorum or anything like that, but I would certainly be interested in David's presentation.
Yeah, if you make it an unofficial meeting, doesn't have to be recorded or anything, but anybody that wants to, voluntarily show up kind of thing. That'd be happy to.
I feel certain we could do it entirely by Zoom, and do we want to go ahead and ask staff to reserve that time on our calendars?
Before.
Open public records.
Yeah,
Oh, we
so-
do have,
Public
yeah.
Meetings Act.
We do
Right.
have the Open Public Records, the OPMA, that we have to abide by appropriately. So we would need to publish the meeting and get word out there that we are having. Any thoughts?
I would be in favor of just having a dedicated meeting to that subject and recording it, making that available. I think it's a very interesting topic.
Thanks, Richard. Anybody else have any comments?
I would just say it doesn't need to be an hour and a half. It'd be more like, 45 minutes to an hour, even if there were questions and stuff. This presentation will probably be only like 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Good to know.
Yes.
Why don't we plan to do that? Why don't we set aside our normal meeting time on December 7th to hear David's presentation, and just recognizing that it likely won't take the full hour and a half. It'll probably be more like 45 minutes, which is great. Have a lot of interest in this group.
Sounds like fun.
Anything else to share from any of the group?
I
If
have
not-
a few things. This is Laura with
Hi, Laura.
Ecology. Hi. Sorry, no picture today. The statewide recycling coordinator meeting is tomorrow, actually, from 9 to 12. If you're not familiar with that, I can send Amanda links that she can pass on. There's also a state SWAC on November 9th from 9:30 to 11:15. So you'd be welcome to join that. I'll include that information. Let's see. I had another one here. Well, hold on a second. The organics management law stuff continues. The business collection requirements, we now have a focus sheet published on that. And I'll send the link when I send some follow-up stuff for Amanda to pass on for you in that particular topic. And then we do update in our box folders, which you may have heard me talk about a few times. We do update information related to the market data that comes out. So we have that link if anybody is especially interested in looking at that market data. Given the way the market has been lately, maybe you don't want to look, but I just wanted to mention that too. So I do have that available in the box library, and I'll pass those on for Amanda to pass on the links. I could put them in the chat, but that doesn't help everybody. So I'll just pass them on. Any questions for me, feel free to let me know as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. That's useful information. Anything else from the group? Or the group? I'm seeing no hands. Announcements? I'm back today. It's 11:10 and we're going to adjourn early.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Put it
Well,
later,
we'll-
thanks.
Thanks,
we'll-
everyone.
We'll see you on December 7th.
Well,
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.